Okay, my screen's disappeared. All right. We are going to get started with the Provo Municipal Council meeting agenda. It is 5:48, Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. We'll do a roll call. Are we good? Okay. Okay, Councillor Handley, we have Councillor Dave Shipley, Councillor Travis Hoban, Councillor Bill Fillmore, Councillor Catrice McKay, Councillor Rachel Whipple, Councillor Shannon Ellsworth, and we have the Mayor, Michelle Kafusi. We will start with an opening prayer by Gary Garrett.
Our kind Father in heaven, we thank thee for the opportunity we have to gather this evening in our city as citizens and elected officials to consider matters important to our city. We thank thee for our country, for our free land, for the beauty that we enjoy and quality of life we enjoy in Provo. We pray now for thy guidance and inspiration for those who will officiate and present and hear proposals brought before the council tonight. We pray that good decisions can be made. We pray for our citizens that they can continue to be engaged in keeping our city the great city on a hill that it is. We again express our gratitude to thee for our blessings and pray for thy spirit in this meeting in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Gary. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councillor Dave Shipley.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Dave. As indicated on the screen, a required public hearing will be held for certain agenda items prior to council action. After each such item has been presented, time to comment will be provided for all those who wish to speak. For items that do not require a public hearing, public comment will also be taken following presentation of the item, but will be limited to 10 minutes. At this time, up to 15 minutes have been set aside for an open public comment period, which is intended to allow comment on matters that do not appear on the agenda. Persons who speak during this time to an item that is on the agenda will not normally be afforded a second opportunity to speak during the comment period specific to that item. During any public comment period, each speaker will generally be limited to 2 minutes. Due to noticing requirements, no formal action will be taken in this meeting on matters that do not appear on the agenda. Those with comments are invited to approach the podium. Those participating on Zoom will need to use the raise hand feature to indicate they wish to comment. The chair may choose to alternate between in-person and online commenters. Please begin your comments by stating your name and your city of residence, and you'll have 2 minutes to speak. So please come up if there's any public comment at this time. All right, not seeing any public comment, we're going to move on to our first. Oh, yes, please come up. Now, is this concerning an item on the agenda already? Okay, great. Come on up. Please state your name and your city of residence, please.
My name is Pam Starley. I live in Provo. So I have a little letter here. I'll just read it.
Great.
I'm requesting that a street sign be placed on the fence of 4320 North stating no parking between 10 p.m. through 8 a.m. or no overnight parking. Our street has a problem of an owner of an RV motorized camping vehicle who thinks they can live on our street of 4320 North. I have called the streets department who comes and marks the tires and gives them a 72-hour notice to move the camping RV, which they do move and leave for 3 days. Then they return back on our street. This has been going on since Labor Day weekend. I have called for the RV to be moved for 3 weeks. An officer who marks the tires requested that I come to the city council and have signs placed on our street. So I have the case numbers, I have my house address here, and I have a picture of the RV.
Okay, that's wonderful. Do you know what? You picked the best night ever to come because our audience is full of enforcement people. And we have the head of enforcement sitting back there, Scott. So I'm just going to have him meet with you at the door,
Okay.
and you can give him the information you brought,
Okay.
and we will address that. We can't do anything in this meeting, and I don't know that that will for sure be the resolution we come to, but that is something that we will discuss and get addressed for you.
Okay. Thank
And
you
be
very
sure you
much.
leave your name and number so we can follow up with you.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
Do we have any other public comment? Come on up. We just need your name and your city of residence, please.
I'm David Meininger. My address is 1472 East, 520 South in Provo. I had an incident April 11th, I believe it was. I'd like you to read this. I told Provo City, Provo Power has a little too much power. They had called off Provo City investigation. There was a power pole fall down in my backyard. $11,000 in damage to my home. I've been fighting since April, and then once a week. I'm kind of at which I don't know what to do. This states that R.C. Willie's hit the line. I have no proof. Provo City Police was called off. I had called 911. Provo Power called them off. I told Provo to drop the ball on me. I can't get them to help me. I went to my homeowners. They're paying for it, but I have $1,000 deductible. I'm on Social Security. I don't have that. I'm here to ask for help. If you guys can talk to someone, I don't know what to do. I've pleaded with everyone. I've been here once a week since April to get my house fixed. That's
Okay,
all I have to say about it.
great. Thank you for coming. Do you know we have legal here, Brian, and he will meet with you at the door and get your information from you. And we will address it, talk about it in leadership and follow up with you. Make sure that he has your name and your number. Thank you. All right, any other public comment? All right, we are going to move to our employee of the month. Okay, this is exciting. So now we are restarting. I believe this has been done in the past, but it has not been done in the year and something that I've been here. So we are going to be doing employee of the month once a month, and it will be presented by the Mayor, Michelle Kafusi.
How do we get the council more engaged with and learning about all the amazing things that these employees are doing? On behalf of you and on behalf of us, they make us look really good because they're so dedicated to their hard work and their job. So we came up with the idea of let's do an employee of the month recognition in the city council meeting once a month so that you can hear the stories, see the faces, and get to feel some of this bubbling up like tenderness that I get to feel when I engage with these employees and hear these stories. I just felt like this was a great way to share these feelings and experiences and then let you see the employees. And so what the protocol will be is we'll have the director come forward and read a little bit of a write-up on the employee they have picked, and we'll hit every department and then start over and give them a beautiful award and a gift card and a letter of appreciation. So our first department is Development Services, and I have Director Pepperoni here with me. So he's going to go ahead and introduce this amazing employee.
Thank you, Mayor. It is with pride and appreciation that I nominate Kendra Herbert as Provo City's September Employee of the Month. Kendra consistently exhibits exceptional care for an exceptional community. She has been employed with the city for just over 3.5 years, with the past 2 years being as a code enforcement officer in the Development Services Department. Kendra tries to connect with each person with whom she has contact. She has a unique ability to put people at ease, to help them understand what concerns exist and what actions are required to resolve the concerns. She understands that in some cases, it takes a wide variety of resources to get an issue resolved. Kendra regularly coordinates with numerous agencies throughout the city to find solutions. Some of the agencies that she has worked with include Provo Police, Animal Control, Wasatch Mental Health Services, Adult Protective Services, Habitat for Humanity, and more. She truly cares for the people she serves and wants the best for them. Kendra is not afraid to roll up her sleeves and work to solve a problem or to help somebody out. As an employee of the city, Kendra demonstrates commitment and dedication. She gets her work done with quality and efficiency. She has been asked to work on cases outside of her normal area of responsibility because of her ability to get the job done. She has taken additional challenges head on and provided exceptional results. The quality of her work has been recognized by her coworkers, both within the department and employees in other departments as well. Kendra is truly an invaluable part of our development services team. Some of Kendra's peers have expressed their support like this. Kendra has gone above and beyond her normal expected duties to ensure not only that the property owners come into compliance, but to ensure they have access to the resources they need. She has been sensitive to individuals' health issues, concerns, while at the same time encouraging compliance with city code. She truly cares about the people she works with. She is a great example of providing exceptional care for our exceptional community. Another employee said, frankly, I was flat out amazed at the work Kendra did. And my own comment was, my only hesitation in giving Kendra this award is that she deserves Employee of the Year. So Kendra, would you please come forward?
Yeah, or like I'm sick.
Thank you, members of the council.
Congratulations. We're excited about this. It'll be a great way for us to be introduced to the staff more. So congratulations. All right, our first action item is a presentation reviewing the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. And this will be presented by Melissa McNally, our Community Grant Administrator.
Good evening. Thank you. The Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or CAPER, as we like to call it, is the report that we put together for HUD and for all of you to evaluate the things that we've done with our federal funds and the way that we've reinvested that federal funding back into our community over the past year. So this year, some of the projects that we had in progress and completed for the Community Development Block Grant were an emergency repair program, an egress window program, money for public works to go towards the pedestrian bridge at the Front Runner Station, capital improvements to some of our nonprofits and social service, and small business assistance and neighborhood improvement projects. This year, we were able to complete improvements in the Franklin neighborhood and then we finished up the project at 300 South University for parks was completed. And with our home funding, and the home funding is for the whole county. So we ran down payment assistance programs for both Provo and countywide. And there was funding awarded to the Orem Senior Housing Project and an affordable rental housing project, which is almost finished. And the things that we accomplished with that funding in the past year, we were able to create or retain 328 jobs and assist 37 small businesses. We were able to assist 4 homeowners with small rehabilitation projects through our egress window and emergency repair programs, and provide 11 first-time home buyers with down payment assistance towards the purchase of a home. And 3 of those were here in Provo, and the other 8 were throughout Utah County. Through those infrastructure projects that I mentioned earlier, it's estimated that it will benefit 7,448 people in the immediate area of those projects. And then with our public services that were funded, we were able to help 6,568 low and moderate income individuals in Provo City. And our last, here's just a breakdown of our social services if you wanted to see that. And then because this is the culmination of our 3rd year of our consolidated plan, which is a 5-year plan, I just put the percentages of completion to kind of show where we're at after this 3rd year of funding has wrapped up. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Melissa? Counselor Handley.
Thank you, Melissa, so much. As always, I'm so appreciative of how you communicate with us and help us understand where all this is going and how we're doing. So I really appreciate your leadership and stewardship over this. Somewhere in the report, I read the home awardees, you had acknowledged that there wasn't as much racial diversity among the recipients as was ideal, and I'm just wondering if there's I don't know, you alluded to, I think, the effort to improve on that. I'm just wondering if some of this material and information can be communicated through, and maybe it already is, through community partners, translated into Spanish or otherwise made available to people. So I'm just curious what we can do to improve on that.
That's a great question. We have distributed, so we have flyers for each of our programs, and we have distributed those to our community partners. We do have some of those programs translated into Spanish, especially the down payment assistance programs are all translated into Spanish and are also distributed. So we're always looking for ideas. So if any of you have some idea that we haven't thought of, I would welcome it, because I think educating the public on what is available to them is one of the harder tasks that we have. So just getting the word out.
Well, we're trying to figure that out ourselves as a council, but maybe that's something that as we start to figure out ways to get more of our messaging out to the Spanish-speaking constituency in Provo. I mean, that's what's top of mind for me, but that obviously doesn't mean we shouldn't be trying to reach other communities, but maybe the council communications efforts can help in that regard. Just things like deadlines and opportunities and like this grant's available, that sort of thing. Seems in some of my conversations with community leaders in the Hispanic community, they're eager for any and all information the city has that can help citizens, and they are already communicating about other matters, but maybe this is one that we can take better advantage of. Just trying to brainstorm with you, but
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think that one of the things that we haven't done, because I think there are a couple organizations in particular that have services for for primarily the Spanish community. And I don't know that we have given materials to them, which would be ideal. But I did notice that our caper announcement on the council page was translated into Spanish. So that was awesome to see.
Hey,
thank you.
Counselor Fillmore.
Melissa, thank you for your good efforts as always.
Thank you.
I have a question about a rather astounding number on your report.
Mhm.
It says that your 5-year goal was to create 20 jobs. And in 3 years, you've created 328. Where does that come from?
So some of that is from our facade program, the small business facade program that's run through our office. And but the biggest portion of that is from the COVID funding that we were able to, for small business relief, that we were able to get off of the ground last year and running because the council had dedicated, I think, around $500,000 for small business relief. So the majority of those jobs are from that small business relief.
Help me understand exactly what that means. Have we created 328 new jobs? Are we just help people stay in place where they had
Both.
jobs?
It's a combination of both. Some are new and some are retained.
Is this part-time or full-time jobs? or is it
It's
just
full-time equivalents. Yes.
Full-time jobs.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, thank you and well done.
Yes.
Counselor Whipple.
So I was reading through the draft report that was included in our council documents. And I noticed that some of the things related to the city council are a little bit outdated. Including on page 20, the CR 35, actions to remove or ameliorate the negative effects of public policies. So it refers to the housing committee, which we had last year that was
Okay.
working on ADUs. We did pass an ordinance to expand ADUs in a kind of incremental way through the city. So that committee work is done and
Okay.
action has been taken, but we're doing more things. So I think it might be helpful to maybe talk with our council staff to get some of
Okay.
these things updated. We've continued to work on station area plans. At one point, it talks about ongoing discussion with Orem and our 4 joint council meetings. And I'm like, wait, when did we have 4 joint council meetings with Orem? So maybe that was something that was a more regular thing in the past. I
Okay.
think it'd be great to have more joint council meetings with Orem, and I'm kind of excited about this idea now. And another update that would be helpful is that the bottom of 21, we're looking at zoning. And so we should be getting a little bit of movement on that in October next month, where we can look at possibly redoing our zoning code. So it may be able to address more of these things.
Okay.
So I don't know if there are more, but those were the things that caught my attention. I know that these are cumbersome documents and much of it is the same from one year to another, but I thought it would be helpful to know that those are areas where we've made a few little incremental bits of progress.
Thank you. That is super helpful.
Yeah, I'll try to read it earlier and send you comments.
Okay.
I just didn't have
Yeah.
time early enough to do that.
Yeah, and you can just get with staff on that and that they can
Sure.
easily fix, send you back.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Melissa? Okay, thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right, next a resolution, an applied motion on a resolution to place a 0.353 acre parcel of ground located generally at 3110 West Lakeshore Drive, and Center Street on the surplus property list and sell it to the adjoining property owner. And this will be presented by Tara Riddle, our city property manager.
Thank you and good evening. As you can see from the screen, the property that we're talking about sits right on the corner of Center Street and 3110 West. It was acquired back in 2009 when 3110 West was widened. And now that we have all of the infrastructure in place and the roadway to the width that we're wanting, we've identified this remnant piece of property that we like to surplus. So as per policy, we always do a departmental review with all of our departments just to be assured that there's not any future need for it for the city. And there was none identified. So we've gotten a positive recommendation from all the department directors. We've had the property appraised. It came in at $55,500. The adjoining property owner, which is the McCord Oil, has made an offer at appraised value with the closing date of October the 5th, 2023. Where this is a remnant piece of property, it would make sense for us to sell it to the adjoining property owner and have it be part of their overall property. When this property was originally purchased, we were using Mountain Lands Association of Governments, their corridor preservation funding. So the proceeds from the sale will go back to MAG to help reimburse the fund for the original purchase. Are there any questions?
Great, thanks. Any questions for Tara? Okay, thanks, Tara. I'd like to open this item up for public comment if there is any. Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll move on to council discussion. Any discussion on this item? All right, let's do a vote. We're going to vote on the implied motion. Councillor Shipley.
Yes.
Councillor Hoban.
Yes.
Councillor Fillmore.
Yes.
Councillor McKay, yes. Councillor Whipple.
Yes.
Councillor Ellsworth.
Yes.
And that passes.
No.
Councillor Hanley.
But yes. Now it passes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, next implied motion on ordinance amending Provo City Code.
Chair McKay, I'm sorry to interrupt. We were just notified by staff that on item number 2, if we could return to it briefly, they were actually hoping that it could be opened for public comment because they do have a requirement for HUD to receive public comment if there is any.
I apologize. That is on my notes. So I'm sorry. All right, so we are going, all right, so we finished, we're good with the land, right? Let me see. Oh, actually, it's not in my notes. I don't feel so bad. Okay, so let's open up. Back too far. It is in my notes. Okay. Going back to that public land that we are going to sell. We do need to open that up to public comment.
No, we're talking about
No?
number 2. The report that.
Okay,
Melissa
it
gave.
wasn't in my notes. All right.
Yeah, it's not. But
Okay.
if we could return to number 2 and open it for public comment briefly, that would be.
Yes, we are going to look at the reviewing the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, or CAPER, and open that up to public comment. If anybody would like to make a public comment, do so now. All right, I'm closing public comment. Thank you. Okay, next implied motion on ordinance amending Provo City Code regarding performance development overlay zones and open space subdivisions. This is citywide application presented by Aaron Ardmore, our planning supervisor.
Okay, thank you. So this item comes to you from the Planning Commission, where it received a positive recommendation, unanimous 7-0. The purpose of this kind of stemmed from some redundancies that we found in the code and some potential issues that we found in the open space subdivision rules. So we thought it would be good to clean that up, kind of remove the open space subdivision out of the code and take the good parts of that and put that into our performance development overlay, the PD overlay in 31. The critical hillside overlay zone kind of satisfied the rest of the open space subdivision. Those parts that are going away that you don't see coming into the PD, they're most likely covered by the critical hillside overlay. So again, those 2 chapters were redundant, so we're trying to clean up the code that way. the existing performance development overlay zone also had a lot of kind of calculations and percentages and bonus densities, and it was hard to administer, hard for the public to understand. So we're trying to clear that up and make that easier for people to use to kind of incentivize better development in the city. So we're moving forward with these proposals. So the rest of my slides are all the pages, but I did want to hit on something that came up in study meeting today. On page 29 of the staff report, it was noted that on the bottom line, talking about permitted uses in the PD, that you could not stack units. It says no units above other units. And there's some question about that. Going to look back at the reasons for that. If you look at 1431.040, just above it, it describes the zones that you can pair a PD with. It's the A1, RA, R1, and R2. None of those zones allow for stacked units. And then though a PD does allow you to vary from the underlying zone, the permitted use is not one of those things that you could vary from. So that's why staff left that in there. Looking back at that, that's what we kind of rediscovered. Now, if there's a discussion with the council that you wanted to open that up, that's a policy decision that we can have discussions about. But that hopefully answers that question for now. Other than that, I'd like to address any questions you might have on any of the pages.
Any questions for Aaron? Counselor Hoban.
Hey, Aaron. There were some percentages, they were like 40, or I think it was, they were put in point, like 0.40, 0.50, 0.70. Can you just explain to me what those were? We were switching it to a 10% requirement. And I'm sorry, I don't have the page number. I was just about to look that up, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. So the old standards for calculating minimum open green space and stuff like that was done by a point system, and that was part of the confusion, right? So that was one of the things that nobody had a real good handle on.
And so we just made it 10% across the board, and then there's different different bonuses you can get. Exactly.
Yeah. So now you can get density bonus for different things, specifically building variety as is one of the newer goals in the general plan, and then affordable housing. So with those available to developers, we felt that a 10% standard, 10% open space standard would be sufficient.
Okay, so the like 0.40, the 0.50, it wasn't like before there was a standard of like 40% or 50%.
No, and it was different from zone to zone, which was curious to everybody on staff. So.
Okay, and then I know sometimes there's a specific development or request that kind of spurs this type of change. Was there something, is there a specific development request or something that kind of brought this to our attention?
That's a good question. Not the PD so much, but the open space subdivision. We started seeing some gaps in that and ability for people to develop in ways that we wouldn't like on the hillside. And when we saw some applications up on the northeast hillsides of the city. Okay. And that's what had us to start looking at this.
Okay, thank you for the context.
Any other questions for Aaron? Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Thanks.
All right, we'd like to open this item up for public comment, please. All right, seeing no public comment, we'll open up to council discussion. All right, are we ready to vote? Okay, we'll call for a vote on the implied motion. Councilor Hoban.
Yes.
Councilor Fillmore.
Yes.
Councilor McKay, yes. Councilor Whipple.
Yes.
Councilor Ellsworth.
Yes.
Councilor Hanley.
Yes.
Councilor Shipley.
Yes.
And that passes unanimously 7-0. All right, next we have a resolution approving the First Amendment to an interlocal agreement for the Provo Medical School Community Reinvestment Project Area. And this will be presented by Keith Morey, our Assistant Director of Development Services.
Hi. So we've talked about this a bunch of different times, and I think we finally have the document in front of you with all the corrections and suggestions for how to implement what we've presented and address the concerns that you had about how we kind of mitigate potential problems if the developer can't go forward. So unless you have questions, hopefully the document in front of you reflects your intent.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Maury?
More just an observation. I think we've been over this several times, and I think everything we've asked you to do and asked the Noorda group to do has been done. Is there anything that you heard from us previously that hasn't been addressed to
No,
your
not at all.
satisfaction?
Not that I could think of at all. I'm just looking at this, the one thing that we've talked about, just so you can see $31,500,000 at the bottom of the paragraph on page 3, and it's 30,100. I think we just maybe, it's supposed to be 31. Is the number or the numbers right? Okay, then they're right. All right. I just wanted to make sure that we hadn't missed another number, but I think everything's been captured.
Can you scroll back up to number 3? Because there was some question. Oh, number two, because, oh, no, in the agreement. When I was reviewing it the other day, okay, yeah, because it's 37 million. There was some question about whether that number was supposed to be 37 million, just 37 million, or whether it was supposed to be 37,100,000.
Yeah, either way, I think it just needs to be consistent in both places.
Same.
Yeah.
Then I believe the other numbers are accurate. So I just wanted to make sure that one was correct.
Counselor Shipley?
Keith, when we talk about the clawback, what I would refer to as the clawbacks, if certain things don't happen, can you just help us understand what I mean, we didn't talk about numbers at all in our last meeting, so I'd love to just get kind of a context for why we came to the numbers we did.
I mean, there's really no science to it. I mean, basically that we had 2 different criteria. One was the next phase of the commercial, the parking structure in the commercial, be completed or be completed within 5 years, and that the first phase of the residential be completed within 10. And so we were just trying to figure out, how to create some kind of a clawback for each of those scenarios. So if you'd rather see a different ratio, I mean, I don't think there's necessarily a concern one way or the other. We were just trying to figure out how to kind of bifurcate those so that each one of them had a penalty, but had a cumulative one if either one of them are achieved.
Okay. So, I mean, this is by including a building or not including a building. I mean, the total package went from $1 million approximately, on the residential side to approximately 31 million in total value is if I, just based on what we moved it from. So I'm just trying to get a sense of like, are we again, because and we've talked about this multiple times, but the normal driver of this is to encourage the additional work, right? Not necessarily to reward what's already been done, even though we really appreciate it and love it, but it's about the additional work. So I just want to make sure that whatever the numbers are, whatever the clawback is, it really motivates, it absolutely motivates that additional work. If it's too small, and I don't have any sense of whether or not it is too small or not, but if it's too small, it might not get us what we are hoping to do by including the building and making this significant incentive, or putting this significant incentive in place. So that's what I'm just trying to, and again, I'm thinking out loud now because I just don't know what that number is supposed to be. And so I wondered if there was some rationale for that.
No, I mean, I was just trying to figure out a good, healthy way to kind of split those up so that there was a penalty for each one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, whether you do 50-50 or whether you do 40-60. I mean, I don't know that there's really a science to it. I mean, you could ask the developer if one hurts more than the other. And if you want to give it all the penalty up front or all the penalty at the end, maybe one hurts more to him than the other. But
could we ask the developer whether or not they alluded to in a previous meeting that this would be, we use this for financing?
My name's Greg Stewart. I'm with GT Medical Holdings. I'm sorry.
So we, in a previous meeting, we alluded to the fact that some of this would be financed or this would be used as a financing tool to continue the project and to grow the project.
So my question is, do these clawbacks put in jeopardy in any way your ability to get any of those financed? Or is there a certain amount of a clawback in a contract like this that would jeopardize the financing? I mean, did that come into play when we talked about numbers here?
I do not believe that it will have any effect on our ability to finance this.
Okay.
The clawbacks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Keith or the developer?
But from my perspective, I think it shows good faith on our part, right? I mean, we're just talking about another development that we're concerned about what's going to happen and whether or not they're going to build what they had told us to build. And we're trying to evaluate, did we actually put any penalties in there? And some of them we haven't had that foresight, because I think we trusted the developer and the market was going to allow what they told us was going to happen, that they were actually going to follow through. So to me, this shows good faith that we're actually thinking far enough ahead to say, you know, if you don't follow through, at least there's a penalty that we can say we enforced what we could.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah.
Any more questions? All right, I'm going to open up this item for public hearing. Anybody like to comment or make a public comment? Not seeing any comment, we will move to council discussion. Personally, I know I'm very, very excited about this complex. Growing up here, the East Bay was just never a hot spot or a nice place, that it didn't have any new buildings. It didn't have anything nice. And I think on so many different levels, this is going to help our city in the long run. And I'm really excited about it. Any other comments? Councillor Shipley.
Sorry, it feels like we're kind of discussing the numbers part kind of on the fly here, and we've discussed this a lot, and I realize that, and apologize if we're belaboring this, but I'm trying to get my mind around the numbers and what they should be or shouldn't be. I think the context of this that is different from other projects is that we're including a completed building, right, as part of this incentive, and when we do that, I think it adds a different layer, or I think we have to add something like these clawbacks. I mean, I'm glad that we're being thoughtful about what might happen down the road, but I think the moment that we say, okay, there's already a building done on this and we're going to include it in an increment, I think that moment dictates or justifies all kinds of different restrictions and rules and forward thinking restrictions on something like this. And so I'm glad that we're looking at that. I'm still not convinced that these are the right numbers, and that's why I asked for how we came up with those. Just off the top of my head, if we move this project from $1 million of increment to 30 over the idea that we were going to include a building that wasn't included and expand this project significantly, I guess my thought is that I would have even been more aggressive with those numbers, but I don't have a sense yet of what those numbers would have been as far as the clawback.
Councillor Ellsworth.
Yeah, just given the comments of Councillor Shipley, is there interest in continuing the item to further review alternatives?
Personally, I would love us to come to something that made sense tonight. Feel like we've belabored this enough, but I think the number is important, I guess is all I'm trying to say. And I think once we include a building that's done, I think we owe it to ourselves to be thoughtful about what this number means. If it doesn't change the financing ability to get financing based on this tax increment, I guess I would be more aggressive with what that number is, because, you know, they're already obligated to do the parking. We're supposed to be giving this increment based on future building and future development on this project. And so I think putting these 5 and 10 year timeframes, I'm happy with that. I think we might just want to be a little more aggressive with the number.
Councillor Hoban.
Then I would ask Councillor Shipley if he has an idea of what number we're looking at. I could support that, but I'd be curious if he's got an idea of what he's thinking.
Yeah, my personal feeling is if a counselor, I should say, Counselor Shipley or any other counselor wants to make a motion, we should entertain that motion. Otherwise, I think we should vote on what's on the docket here. We've had plenty of time to have that discussion, and I don't feel like doing it on the dais right now is ideal. But if a counselor wants to make a motion to that effect, I think that's how we ought to go forward. And if not, if that doesn't pass, or if no one wants to make the motion, then we vote on what's here.
I agree with you, George. Anyone like to make a motion? Counselor Fillmore?
Not a motion. I just, I guess I'm experiencing a little legislative fatigue on this. These good folks have acted in good faith for quite a while now. It's time we just brought it to a head. Vote on it.
Well, you want to make a motion then?
Well, no motion is needed unless somebody wants to make a change.
Okay.
Sorry, can we go back to the screen that actually shows those numbers?
Can I make a comment?
Please.
So if you take the total amount of increment, the $37.1 million, the two structures that we're talking about represent approximately 20% of the overall cost of the project. And so in a very general sense, we simply took approximately 20% of the increment that was approved in the last meeting and just reduced it by that amount. And there was no real science that we didn't have like we just kind of took 20% of what was going to be constructed and reduced it by that amount in case we did not build those buildings. So that's where we came up with it.
Thank you. Should I call for a vote on the implied motion? All right. Counselor Fillmore.
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes. Counselor Whipple.
Yes.
Counselor Ellsworth.
No.
Counselor Handley.
Yes.
Counselor Shipley.
Yes.
Counselor Hoban.
Yes.
All right, so that passes 6-1 with
Thank you.
Shannon being a no. I feel like we should give you frequent flyer miles. All right, if there is no objection, we will now adjourn the Provo Municipal Council meeting by unanimous consent.
Recording stopped.